So hello everyone, and warm greetings from here at Insight Meditation Center. And dark morning, I think it's just a little teeny bit of hint of light in the sky out the windows. So what I'd like to say today in preparation for this meditation is that one of the discoveries in doing mindfulness meditation, maybe a lot of meditation that goes kind of deep, concentrated enough, is how much our experience is mediated by concepts. Concepts that run quite deep in the mind, so we don't really realize that we're living in concepts. And so to give a very simple idea, that I'm looking here now, that the camera for seeing you all on YouTube is on top of a bookcase with 4 shelves. I see it as a bookcase. If we go back in history, maybe only a few tens of thousands of years, and bring this bookcase to the people who lived on the planet at that time, I don't think they would have seen it as a bookcase. I don't know what they would have thought about it, and I wouldn't know how they would use it. Maybe they'd put it down flat on the ground on its back and use it to store different things, or maybe they store kindling for wood. Maybe it was a kindling holder. I don't know, but they wouldn't see it as a bookcase, that I'm sure. And the idea of seeing a bookcase, I can do effortlessly. It's like, I don't have to think about, conceive, or have a thought. Bookcase, it just, what else could it be? So, but as we sit and meditate, this subtle conceptual mind begins to quiet and quiet. And not seeing it as a bookcase in the deep meditation is not a big deal particularly, or relevant. But what happens with the eyes closed, meditating, is that the concepts we have of our body begins to dissolve, begins to stop operating. So I think a couple of days ago, I clipped my fingernails, and in my meditations since then, I have not thought once about my fingernails. But I could have. I could have thought my fingernails now short, maybe I didn't cut them quite right, maybe they should have been more curved or rounded or this way or that way. And I'm having fingernail thoughts. But luckily for me, I was able to meditate without thinking about my fingernails. I could think about, meditation, think about my hair, and I have thoughts about my hair and how long it is, and should I get a haircut or this or that. But luckily, I did not have to think about my hair during meditation. And so my hair and my fingernails receded from attention, receded from awareness, something it wasn't really in my experience. It wasn't really something that I thought about or that I perceived. Partly in meditation, to perceive fingernails and hair, I kind of need to have some concept idea that's operating. But without them, they recede, they kind of disappear. And so as we sit and meditate, if we sit in front of a mirror and look at our face, we have all kinds of face thoughts. But when we're sitting closed, with eyes closed, there's maybe very few thoughts about the face. And the face is not, it can still be a concept when we think about, but there's no direct seeing of the face because there's no mirror. The eyes are open. And the ideas of our face come from memory and ideas, unless there are kind of itching or pressure or tingling in the face, warmth in the face, then we feel sensations. But those sensations can occur without the clear mental image or clear self-conscious thought about what our face looks like. So this is a way of trying to explain that as we meditate deeper and deeper, the definitions, the ideas, the concepts that we use for the body begin to quiet down. And we begin finding the body after a while has no boundaries. It has no edges. It has the things that of course we have these things in the body, but the conceiving of it, the perception of it quiets down. And this entering into a world where the body is not experienced as solid, not experienced as bounded, not experienced as something conceived or remembered. And it's just all these different sensations, but the sensations can exist without connecting it to a concept of that place. The warmth I feel in the moment in my hand, I can say hand, but I can also just experience the warmth without any concept of hand. It's kind of like, in and of itself, the warmth is just kind of hovering in a certain kind of space and exists quite happily, independently of idea of hand. The edges of the hand disappear, and there's just warmth and other sensations there. So this is a direction that meditation goes as the mind gets quieter, the conceiving mind, the thinking mind, the defining mind gets quieter, that the body begins to get more diffuse, lighter, wispier. There's feeling that there's lots of space in the body, that the edges are porous or the edges are diffuse, the edges disappear. So taking a comfortable upright posture, begin with being very clear idea of having a body, and you assume a nice posture with this body. And within this body, aware of eyes, and closing the eyes. Within this body, a clear concept of breathing and where breathing occurs in the body. And feeling what changes in your body as you take some long, slow, deep breaths. Relaxing the shoulders on the exhale. Relaxing the belly. Letting the breathing return to normal. On the exhale, relaxing the face muscles. And on the exhale, relaxing, calming your thinking, the thinking mind. So in the beginning of meditation, concepts, ideas of the body are useful. And then to begin settling into breathing. And many of the concepts of body are no longer needed. Letting them go in favor of being attuned to the sensations of breathing, the rhythm of breathing. And as you breathe, let the attention receive, take in sensations of the body breathing. What part of the body do you feel those sensations? You don't have to think about. You don't have to operate with an idea, concept, image of chest to feel the movements there. Belly to feel the movements there. Just movements, just pressure, release of pressure, expansion, contraction. With every exhale, quieting the thinking mind. Or with every exhale, letting go of your thoughts, letting them drift away like clouds drifting in the sky. as you're meditating, there might be parts of your body for which you have no perceptions of unless you think about it. For example, you might not be perceiving the toenail of your middle toe on your left foot. Or maybe during this meditation so far there's been no perception of one of the knuckles on your hand until you go looking for it. If there's no backrest you're leaning against, the perceptions of your back rib cage are probably much more subtle than the front rib cage. Maybe there's a feeling of space around the subtle sensations of the back ribs. Edges are diffuse. Attune yourself to how within the body that there's plenty of locations where there's more sense of space than there is clear sensations, where they're not sharp boundaries. And becoming aware of the space between sensations. Of your body. And in that place of space, diffusion, absence of concepts, might there be a feeling of peace, stillness, maybe even safety? If there is, stay close to that. Breathe with it. Content to rest for a few minutes in the spaciousness of the body. And then as we come to the end of this sitting, to imagine or feel or sense that the body is porous, that it's mostly made up of space. At least the body that we directly perceive with the eyes closed. The body that is not conceived, but rather perceived through the senses. That perceived body is diffuse, spacious, open. And that the words people speak travels right through that space, not touching anything. The things that we see in the world, in a way, just kind of doesn't land in the space. The space is not troubled, agitated by anything. And so the heart can be receptive and open without reacting, contracting, asserting. In the spaciousness of the body, the heart can be kind, can move through the world with simple goodwill, looking upon all things kindly, looking upon all things with a generosity of care, with the spaciousness of the body. May we care for the welfare and happiness of others. May all beings be happy. May all beings be safe. May all beings be peaceful. And may all beings be free. Thank you. So we come to the fourth talk on the similes for meditation. And we're going through the similes that are used for strong concentration practice, for the jhanas, for absorptions, and where these similes are particularly apt, particularly representative of some of the deeper experiences and the kind of phases through which clear kind of stages or phases that we go through as the mind gets really settled and focused, quiet. And I appreciate how much these descriptions work for meditation well short of deep absorption. That meditation, even mildly settled meditation, goes through phases, and the sense of the body changes, our sense of self changes, all kinds of things changes as we settle, even modestly. And some of what these similes for deep concentration represent, or how they feel, can be experienced sometimes in lighter meditation. And to recognize it and feel it kind of supports the deepening, supports kind of opening up to settling even more and more. And part of the advantage of being sensitive to some of these shifts and changes in in uh, in more ordinary deepening of meditation is that we're starting to get comfortable with it, to recognize it. So when the meditation is really deep, we're already somewhat familiar and we recognize it, and we don't get excited, or sometimes people get afraid or kind of confused by it. But we're already familiar with kind of, oh, now I know. This is just a deepening of what I've already had and know about. So we come to the simile for the fourth jhana. The fourth jhana is a state of very deep tranquility and equanimity. And in it, because the fourth jhana, the mind is so still and quiet that there's very little concepts, conceiving, making of concepts through which we see ourselves and the world around us. And in fact, with the eyes closed, there's no thoughts, no conception, no perception of the world around us anymore, because we're so settled and content and peaceful here that everything else recedes. And one of the things that recedes from awareness when we're quite settled and peaceful and the mind is calm is the sharp definitions of the body, the sharp way we understand the body. And so much of experience of the body is in fact mediated through concepts. Being self-conscious about the body often has to do with maybe comparisons, one concept versus another. We compare our body with someone else's body type. Our body is too thin or too large or too small or too something. And it's possible to get really wrapped up in body consciousness and these ideas and concepts that have a lot to do with comparative thinking, comparing ourselves to an ideal, to other people, to how we were when we were younger. And this is all navigating in the world of concepts and ideas, which belongs to the world of thinking mind, conceptual mind. The body in and of itself, in the terms of its perceptions of itself, where perceiving sensations of the body, the sensations of the body are free and independent of the concepts we have. And this, for someone with regular street consciousness, this might be inconceivable that we can experience the body without any concepts, especially if the concepts are so deeply ingrained in the mind, we don't even know that we're conceiving them. But there's kind of this very deep layers of the mind where conceptions operate, even without words, even without images, it's just kind of there. And all that can get quieter and quieter, and we can start perceiving the body without kind of really without seeing it, without any clear sense that there is a body here. So the simile that's for this is a delightful simile of a person. A little bit I embellish it, but of a person. The two earlier ones have to do with being a lake, kind of being in a lake. And imagine that you've gone for a nice bath, swim in a beautiful clear water, and you come out of the lake and maybe you've been grimy and dirty, even backpacking or hiking or something, and you've been maybe days without a shower. And finally you're able to go to this beautiful quiet lake and clean yourself really thoroughly and well, and all the dirt and grime is off you, and you come back on the shore, and you're very contented, very happy. There's nothing to do, nothing to be. You've arrived where you want to come be, and someone gives you a completely clean, soft cotton blanket to wrap yourself around in, and completely enveloped in this blanket, so that no part of the body is not covered by this blanket. And in a land where there's flies and insects flying around, you're protected from those in the blanket. You're protected from the sun, and nothing comes in. That way, maybe you're protected from the wind. It just feels so nice and safe and protected inside this blanket. And because you're inside, completely enveloped in this blanket, no one, you can't see the body. The blanket the soft kind of gauzy blanket means the body is not seen. But inside that blanket, the person, you, is completely feeling clean. There's a purity, there's a cleanliness, there's a radiating feeling that can happen after you're really clean, perhaps in a shower or a bath or something. And very content and kind of peaceful. Feeling of everything is good and everything is right in the world. So that's a simile. This person enveloped in a clean cotton blanket, and no part not covered. And so in this deep meditation, the blanket shows us that you can't see the body. We don't perceive the body in ordinary ways. The body gets diffuse, kind of disappears. There might be individual sensations here and there, but they're almost disappear entirely. Remember the simile before, yesterday, there's still things in the lake. The lake still has a certain kind of substantiality. There's water in it. And there's individual lotus flowers floating in the lake. So there might still be sensations in the body that are just floating in the lake, floating in this kind of spaciousness of the water. And this fourth simile, there's really there can be almost no sensations at all of the body. There's that almost like the body disappears, except for this feeling of cleanliness, of refreshment that's come from the bath. This feeling of being peaceful, being tranquil, this feeling of being equanimous, just everything's okay. The work of what you had to do has been finished, nothing needs to happen, there's nothing, then that's contentment. There's no reactivity of the mind, no being for or against anything, just very, very content and deep. There's no clear sense of rapture or pleasure or joy or delight. There's something that feels more satisfying, which is this kind of feeling of deep kind of cleanliness and purity and peace that seems to radiate kind of where the body used to be. And it's a lovely experience. I've known people, and I've done this, where the body seems to disappear in these states, and kind of beginning doubting, do I really have a body anymore? Has my body really disappeared? And then opening the eyes to see, looking, and saying, nope, the body's still there. It didn't go away. Because the sense of the body disappearing is so strong that you want to check and make sure you're still there. And so one of the important lessons in this kind of, through the simile, but also the kind of meditation can be a little bit like this, is that as meditation deepens, we're experiencing ourselves, experience our life, free of many of the ordinary concepts that we live with on automatic pilot. And some of these concepts that we take for granted, we believe define reality, this is what's really happening, turns out to be provisional, turns out to be just concepts, conceivings of the mind. And they're not inherent, they're not exactly what they don't have to be there. And when a lot of these concepts of ourselves, our body, and what's going on, bring us a really heavy burden, or bring a lot of suffering and distress, it's kind of surprising and radical to have all those concepts disappear and stop, and feel this deep peace and contentment without anything in the world having been fixed, or anything, challenges in our body that we have fixed, because the body just has somehow, there's a different way of experiencing life, or a different way of experiencing that is not mediated by the concepts that we are usually navigating or struggling with. And that puts a little question mark after the concepts, after the struggles we have. Is this really as real as I thought it was? Is this really as substantial and necessary as I thought it was? There is another way here. The Buddha, when he was in the suttas, in the discourses, there's the Buddha talking himself as an old man, 80-year-old man. And back in ancient India, there were no pain medication. There was no the kind of medications that we have that can make aging so much more easier. There was no palliative care in hospitals to reduce the pain. And he talked about how much his body hurt and was creaky, and that he was bent over in his old age, his back, and that the only place that he got relief from all his pain was to go into this deep state of meditation that the simile is for. And I imagine that's where he got refreshed and renewed, so that he can continue going on with his life with this creaky, old, painful body. It kind of lifted it for a while and refreshed him, so this kind of meditation is very useful for us, and can help a lot. But the biggest help for people doing mindfulness meditation, it can begin to free us from the authority, the hegemony of concepts and ideas. And we see them as provisional, conditional, contingent, not always necessary to live by them. And this is kind of a paradigm shift that meditation can take us to. And hopefully in doing so, help us be much wiser navigating in the world of concepts. So, thank you. And so we have one more simile, and that'll be tomorrow. And I think sometimes people go away on Friday, and so we don't quite have as many people here. So maybe I'll make an announcement today and tomorrow about the next few weeks. Is that next week Kodo Conlin will be leading the 7 a.m. while I'm on retreat. And the following week, May Elliott will give the talk also when I'm on retreat. And they're related to each other. They're married, and they're both of them in the IMC's teacher training program. They're wonderfully promising young teachers. And they have a little similar background as myself, in that they have also been practicing with the San Francisco Zen Center, have a Zen background, and Kodo is actually a priest there, and like I was, but also very deep Vipassana practitioners, and now, in our Vipassana Insight teacher training program. They're a delight, and I think you'll enjoy them quite a bit. And then the following 2 weeks after that, I'm going away for Thanksgiving, and then I do another retreat. So I won't be here for 4 weeks, but you'll be taken care of somehow, and during this time, and I think it's very supportive for all of you when you show up for each other here. So I hope that you offer that support, and I'll be back in beginning of December, but I'm here tomorrow. Great, thank you.